Living Power with Dan Hurst.
But people still refuse to believe that the resurrection happened, and there are a number of theories about what happened. I love these theories. First, there's the theory that it was the wrong tomb. This is the theory that the women who reported that the body was missing had mistakenly gone to the wrong tomb. The problem with that theory is that the women knew which tomb it was because they were there when he was buried. It says in Mark 15, verses 46 and 47, so Joseph brought some linen cloth down to the body, wrapped it in the linen, placed it in the tomb, cut out of rock. Then he rolled the stone against the entrance of the tomb. Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of Joseph, saw where he was laid. They were there, and so was Joseph. It was his tomb. They knew where the tomb was. If the women went to the wrong tomb, then the disciples who went to check on the women's statement must have gone to the wrong tomb also. And remember what John did. John 20, verse 2 and 4. So she came running to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one that Jesus loved, and said, they've taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they've put him. So Peter and the other disciple, that's John, started for the tomb. Both were running, and the other disciple outran Peter and reached the tomb first. Now, if Peter and John also knew where the tomb was, and they ran on ahead of the women to check it out for themselves, how could they have gone to the wrong tomb? I mean, they would have gone to the wrong tomb that the women had, a different tomb than the women had gone to. It doesn't make sense. They knew where the tomb was. Something that incredible was that important. And John ran on ahead by himself. And Peter wasn't behind him going, I think you're supposed to turn left there. That wasn't going on. The women and the disciples had gone to, if they had gone to the wrong tomb, then the Jewish authorities and the Roman government would have made an absolute mockery of that mistake, and the Roman guard would have still been there. And speaking of guarding the tomb, the body was gone. The body was stolen. That's another theory. Well, the body was stolen. That's what happened. Well, now, could the body have been stolen while the guard slept? In fact, it's interesting because Mary Magdalene wondered the same thing. In John chapter 20, verses 1 and 2, early on the first day of the week, while it was still dark, Mary Magdalene went to the tomb and saw that the stone had been removed from the entrance. So she came running to Simon Peter and the other disciple, the one that Jesus loved, and said, they've taken the Lord. They have taken the Lord out of the tomb, and we don't know where they have put him. She thought the body had been stolen. And then I want you to see where this theory really started. It's in Matthew chapter 28. While the women were on their way, some of the guards went into the city and reported to the chief priests everything that had happened. This is interesting. The Roman guard goes in and says, you're not going to believe what happened. I mean, the Roman guard knew that they had abandoned their post, and they go and they explain what happened. And when the chief priests had met with the elders and devised a plan, they gave the soldiers a large sum of money. You can retire now. Telling him, you're to say, his disciples came during the night and stole him away while we were asleep. If this report gets to the governor, we'll satisfy him and keep you out of trouble. So the soldiers took the money and did as they were instructed, and the story has been widely circulated among the Jews to this very day. Have you ever heard that story among the Jews to this very day? Not even the Jews believe it. The Romans ripped them off. They took the money and ran. Whoa, take the money and run. They got out of there. They were AWOL, and they took the money and ran. And nobody challenged that. Nobody challenged that and said, oh, the body was stolen. The theory about the stolen body misses some important points. The disciples were hiding for their lives. They were already disillusioned and scared. Totally defeated. They were in no condition to attempt to steal a body from a sealed grave guarded by a Roman contingent. They just wouldn't have done it. But what if the Jewish or Roman authorities moved Christ's body to keep it from being stolen? What if they stole the body? What if the Romans themselves stole the body? Or the Jews themselves stole the body? And by Jews, I'm talking about the Pharisees or the Sanhedrin. What if the soldiers themselves stole it? Well, wouldn't they have known where the body was? And then when the disciples were in the street proclaiming that Jesus was alive and that he was resurrected a few days later, wouldn't they have said, nah. We moved the body. That's what they would have done. He didn't rise from the grave. We moved the body. You guys are frauds. That one act would have saved their jobs and destroyed the birth of Christianity. One Roman soldier saying, you know what? We moved the body. because we thought you guys might try something like this. Just saying it would have challenged Christianity and could have completely crashed Christianity. Then there's the swoon theory. I love this theory. The swoon theory is that it says Jesus didn't die, he merely fainted from exhaustion and loss of blood. And everybody thought he was dead, but later he resuscitated, and the disciples thought it was a resurrection. The swoon theory. Interestingly, David Friedrich Strauss, who is agnostic or atheist or whatever he was certainly no believer in the resurrection. He had this to say about the swoon theory. This is somebody who's not a believer, says this. It's impossible that a being who had stolen half dead out of the sepulchre, who crept about weak and ill, wanting medical treatment, who required bandaging, strengthening, and indulgence, and who had last yielded to his sufferings, could have given the disciples the impression that he was a conqueror over death and the grave, the Prince of Life. Such a resuscitation could only have weakened the impression which he had made upon them in his life and in his death, but could by no possibility have changed their sorrow into enthusiasm and have elevated their reverence into worship. Interesting observation. Furthermore, remember that Jesus had been beaten mercilessly. His beard had been ripped out. The Bible says his beard had been ripped out. He had taken so many lashes on his back that wearing a robe would have been excruciating and virtually impossible. The swelling and the bruising alone and the oozing open wounds would have been grotesque, hardly commanding proof that he had risen from the dead and was alive forevermore. In fact, Thomas, who was so unsure that Jesus could have survived or that he was resurrected, asked to see the evidence of the nail scars, implying, of course, that this person who claimed to be resurrected was an imposter. And so the story is told in John 20, 25 through 29. You see it there on the screen. And Thomas just didn't believe it. And Jesus said, look, here it is. Put your hands in the scars and see for yourself. There are numerous other theories and speculations, including such explanations as hallucinations or impersonations. I love that one. Or the theory that Jesus wasn't even the one that was crucified in the first place. It was somebody else on the cross, and that the real Jesus came forward, and that sort of thing. There are all of these theories of conspiracy.